We're standing in what was the middle of the downtown of the second largest inhabited site in Manitoba in 1916. There's virtually nothing left here now. I'm actually standing on a piece of paving that was the main drag at Camp Hughes. And all along the railway tracks for about 1.5 kilometers was the town site. So it was the camp office, the camp hospital, the post office, a lot of retail stores, and 6 movie theaters at the end of the camp to keep the troops entertained. Of course, it's pretty boring being in a tent here in the middle of the prairie for 4, 5, 6 months. And a lot of businesses not opened up here to keep the troops entertained. Families would come up here on the weekends particularly, but they would get into caravans of motor vehicles and have cavalcades, as they called them, to come up to the camp. And the battalions would put on demonstrations. They would do attack formations, physical training and that to entertain the soldiers' loved ones. And of course then they would be able to go out to the movies with their families. One of the theaters had 2 screens. It was the appropriately named Twin Theater, and as far as we know it was the first multiplex in Canadian history. So we're right on the main street, which was paved. The soldiers called this whole area the Midway because of the entertainment value that it had for them. And just over here, we'll just walk over, and this is the remains of the motor transport building, which was the place where all the motor vehicles that the Army had on the site were maintained. So effectively the garage. And you can see we have the remains of a maintenance bay here. And we have the oil change pit that was used in 1915 and 16 to keep those vehicles running. But it is remarkable now if you consider that this was the center, the hub of an area that extended for several kilometers in radius, that was absolutely filled with bell tents, 30,000 troops, almost 30,000 men living here and training here as part of the camp staff and the training audience in 1916. What a bustling place this was, and you can see pictures of the Midway, and it's absolutely packed. It looks like downtown Winnipeg on a weekend when all the families are up here taking in the movies and going to the restaurants. The railway station was just across to the north, the main camp railway station. There were actually 6 railway sidings here to deal with the heavy volume of traffic. And this is where the troop trains would drop the troops off at the start of the training season so that they could get up here to execute this battalion training. And this is the place that they left from. So that site for me, again, it's very important, almost hallowed ground. That's where a lot of those troops left from. And several thousand of them, that's the last place that they ever stood in Manitoba. They were shipped from here to the East Coast, got on troop ships, and a lot of them now lie in Europe. They never made it back to Manitoba.